There's something that happened at the end of the last arc that people aren't talking about enough. One of the most mysterious figures in One Piece, Red Hair Shanks, has proclaimed that it's about time that he takes the One Piece for himself. The man who the Gorosei claims has no desire for world domination, the same man who spent most of his time in the story seemingly just kicking it, has wanted to claim the One Piece the entire time? But here comes the big question. How exactly will Shanks try and accomplish this feat he so casually talked about at the end of Wano? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain why Shanks is arguably already the closest man to the One Piece, and that the road to claiming it is going to be a lot easier for him than most would believe. If you stick around until the end, I'll even break down exactly how the upcoming battle against Luffy and the Straw Hats will most likely go down, and why he most likely already hands that fourth and final road poneglyph that we have yet to see. So without further ado, let's get into the video and start off with what will most likely be Shanks' first step to claiming the One Piece. So for some reason, fans have always had this sort of theory or headcanon that Shanks' ultimate ending will be to die at the hands of Blackbeard. They think like this because they believe that it will give Luffy a reason to truly despise Teach and give more stakes to their eventual battle at the end of the story. A long time ago, I actually agreed, but after recent developments, it seems like that idea is becoming less and less true. The biggest example of this is the fact that Garp is going to face off with Blackbeard on Hachinosu. Most people, including myself, think that this is where Garp's story ends, and that actually his death will be the reason why Luffy ends up developing an even bigger grudge against Blackbeard. So, let me ask this. Would Oda go out of his way to repeat the same plot point by having Blackbeard kill Shanks as well? I don't think so. I do believe that the two are destined to fight, but I also believe that that doesn't mean that Shanks has to particularly die there. This is even more strengthened by the fact that a lot of the biggest mysteries surrounding Shanks were only established at the end of the Reverie and onwards. Think about it. Shanks met with the Gorosei, and it's implied that the two of them have a history that hasn't been explained yet. Furthermore, we find out through Film Red in Volume 4 Billion that Shanks was actually found in a chest that Roger looted during the God Valley incident. This ties Shanks to two of the biggest mysteries currently within the story, the Gorosei and God Valley. I don't think that Oda would add all of these mysteries to Shanks that have yet to be fully explored if his ultimate goal with the character would be to have him die at the hands of Blackbeard. That's just way too anticlimactic and sort of obvious compared to how Oda usually handles the story of One Piece. The biggest thing that made me believe that Oda has way more in store for Shanks was also the fact that after Wano, we find out that Shanks surprisingly wants to go ahead and claim the One Piece for himself. Most fans believe that Shanks was never after the One Piece and that he instead wanted Luffy to become the Pirate King. But again, Oda has completely destroyed that idea. This is why I think that it's imperative that we take another look at how we perceive Shanks' story will develop and also his fate at the end of the manga. This begs the question though, if Shanks is actually going to claim the One Piece, just how exactly is he going to do that? Well, that brings us to our next point, which is about the road poneglyphs. Okay, so to put things in perspective, we know that Luffy, Trafalgar Law, and Eustace Kid all have multiple rubbings of road poneglyphs that they have come across in their journeys. Law only has two of them, which are the Zou and Wano road poneglyph rubbings because he never went to Whole Cake Island with Luffy. Eustace Kid, on the other hand, has the Whole Cake and Wano road poneglyphs because he's never been to Zou for the third one. That puts Law and Kid at 2 road poneglyphs while Luffy has all 3. But what about Shanks? If he's going to go to Laugh Tale in order to get his hands on the One Piece, he's going to need to gain access to the road poneglyphs as well. Even Blackbeard has taken advantage of Kaido and Big Mom being defeated and is currently challenging Law in order to get his hands on the rubbings of the road poneglyphs that Trafalgar has with him. Blackbeard even kidnapped Pudding because he most likely knows that she may awaken the ability to read the poneglyphs and bring him closer to getting to Laugh Tale. This is interesting because this puts him at odds with Big Mom, who most likely isn't dead, which Pudding actually implies when we see her in captivity. I believe that Shanks will use this opportunity to go to Whole Cake Island and get a rubbing of the road poneglyph that's being guarded there. This would also parallel how Roger got his hands on a rubbing of the road poneglyph back when he was trying to find the One Piece all those years ago. This isn't the only move Shanks will most likely make though. I believe that the 4th road poneglyph that according to Nekomamushi is currently at an unknown location is actually somewhere that only Shanks has access to. Think about it. The poneglyph was originally on Fishman Island at the Sea Forest when Roger found it, Shanks was even there to witness it. It would only make sense for the person to have moved this road poneglyph to be Shanks. This is further strengthened by the fact that the only lead Killer and Eustace Kid had on it was to find the man marked by flames, to which at this point is quite clearly Jaguar D. Saul, who currently resides on Elbaf. We know this because when we see the Kid Pirates on the seas directly outside of Elbaf, we see that Killer has what seems to be a vivre card that most likely led them there. This means that not only is the man marked by flames on Elbaf, but also that it's their lead to where the final road poneglyph is. This leads back to Shanks because of his obvious ties to Elbaf. Take his ship, the Red Force, for example. This is definitely a ship that has Viking influence, just like how Oda depicts the giants of Elbaf. The Red Force may actually be a ship that Shanks had built for him by giant shipwrights residing on that island. So the lead that the Kid Pirates are looking for on Elbaf is most likely the information that Shanks is the one who has the last road poneglyph. That would mean that Shanks would only need 2 more road poneglyphs to go to Laugh-Tale, which leads us to our next point: his eventual battle against Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates. If you want to talk about something that has been foreshadowed, the biggest and most exciting example of this would be the inevitable face-off between the Red Hair and Straw Hat Pirates. This is a plot point that has been set in stone from the very first chapter of the story, when Luffy tells Shanks that he will one day have a ship and crew that surpasses his own. This led into the promise that Shanks and Luffy made that when he becomes a great pirate, the two will meet and Luffy will return his straw hat to him. Not only is the fight destined to happen, it also makes sense because Luffy would also be Shanks' last obstacle to get to Laugh-Tale and claim the One Piece, and also vice versa. The stakes are further heightened when you realize that Shanks knows that Luffy and Roger share the same dream. The man that Shanks followed and idolized, even to the point of basing the makeup of his crew after the Roger Pirates. Think about it. Shanks' crew is a relatively small and balanced crew of pirates, all without devil fruit powers, exactly the same way Roger's was. It's even more interesting when you realize that Shanks went after the Gomu Gomu no Mi after hearing that Luffy had the same dream Roger did. We know this because we never saw Luffy tell Shanks this on screen, which implies that it happened before chapter 1 and before Shanks arrived at Fuchsia Village with the Gomu Gomu no Mi. The implications of this are so deep that I'm probably going to go further in depth on this in another video. But for now, let's focus on why this fight has to happen in the first place, besides the promise that they made. To put things into perspective, the same way that Luffy needs to defeat Shanks in order to become the Pirate King, Shanks needs to defeat Luffy in order to get to Laugh-Tale. This is because I believe that if Shanks wins, not only will he get the rubbings of the road poneglyphs he doesn't have, but he'll ask that Robin joins him on their voyage to Laugh-Tale, the same way that Roger asked Whitebeard for Odin to join him. The reason for this being that Robin is the only person we know of currently in the world that can read and transcribe poneglyphs. Now I know what you're thinking. Why exactly would Luffy agree to this? It's because Luffy needs access to the rubbing of the last road poneglyphs that Shanks most likely has. Not only would this make the fight between the two pirate crews way more dramatic, but it would also be the ultimate test for Luffy when it comes to the belief in himself and his crew. So just like how Roger and Whitebeard battled, I believe that the Red Hair and Straw Hat Pirates will face off, where the winner of the battle will go on to become the first person to reach Laugh-Tale since Goldie Roger himself. That will be Shanks' plan to claim the One Piece. As to who will win that fight and eventually get to Laugh-Tale, I'm placing my bets on Luffy. But it would be a dramatic twist for Shanks to be the one that actually wins. Now, if you're wondering how Shanks and the Gorosei tie into God Valley, and the implications that had on the story, check out the last theory I made on Rock's D. Zebek I released before this, because I honestly believe that these two ideas go hand in hand. Also, if you stuck around till the end, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for even more One Piece theories, discussions, and content in the future. Later.